Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is my video for the Islamic Studies course for the Reflect Upon the Quran session, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the verses of Surah Al-Ahzab. This is one of my favorite surahs of the Quran because it is so deeply connected to the seerah and the life of the Prophet ﷺ and the lives of his family and his companions. And it's really just an exemplification of the idea that the verses of the Quran are about specific instances and events and people, but they're universally applicable to all of our lives. So in the class, I believe Ustad Mahad went over some verses from the second page of Surah Al-Ahzab, which talk specifically about the Battle of Khandaq. And this is a very interesting point in the seerah because it represents one of the biggest underdog moments of the Muslims. They're facing the biggest army, not just that they've ever faced, but, maybe the biggest army that's ever been assembled in the Arabian Peninsula. And things look absolutely hopeless for them. They're starving, they are surrounded, they, have fewer tools than the enemy. They're vastly outnumbered. Basically, everybody that's not a Muslim in this region is fighting against them. It's on the other side. And this is a moment where all you can have is trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They go out, they tie their camel, right? They build the trench, they arm the men, they, set up defensive positions around the city, they scout. But at the end of the day, when you're outnumbered by whatever it was, like 10 times, you have to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pretty much to give you some sort of miraculous victory. And that's exactly what happens in this instance, is that the storm descends and this huge army of the Ahzab is just driven away in humiliation, which is a miracle, right? It's a miracle for that to happen. And one really actually interesting point that I heard in a lecture a few weeks ago is that this is very similar to the plight of the Palestinian people today, and that the Palestinians, the whole world is united against them. They are outnumbered, they are outgunned, they, seemingly have no hope, if we're being realistic, of winning like a military confrontation against the Israelis. All you can have for the situation is just faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has the backs of the believers. It's even, I saw a picture on Instagram where the people in Gaza are tying stones to their chest the same way that the companions did during the Battle of Ahzab because of the severe hunger. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy and grant them ease and shifa. So I think these verses are very relevant now because we look at the Battle of Ahzab as a victory for the Muslims. The disbelievers were driven away, and the munafiqun, the hypocrites were exposed. They were saying that we should abandon the city, we should just surrender, give in to what they want, we're never going to win. And the Prophet ﷺ was like, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has our back. We are going to make dua, we are going to, set up our defensive positions, and we're going to wait. And at the end, when they won, the disbelievers and the hypocrites were humiliated. And similarly, I think with the situation of the people in Gaza, we make dua for them, we donate money to them, and we wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have the backs of the believers and for victory to come our way. Beyond that, I think there's so many other parts of this surah that are so beautiful because they're directly speaking to the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, to the believers in how they interact with the Prophet ﷺ, and to the Prophet himself ﷺ. You have these verses that are, for example, to the wives, where, they're told that you must, for you, a sin counts for more and a good deed counts for more, and for you, you must veil yourself and in a different way. And you have, for example, the verses where it's, the believers are told, don't enter the home of the Prophet ﷺ, don't annoy him. And it's a very, kind of different, I think, from other parts of the Quran, because, other parts of the Quran are talking about, these very, I don't know what's a good word for this, but these very, high-level concepts like heaven and hell, judgment day, these big things. And then you have these verses that are don't go into this guy's house without asking first. And I think it does a very good job of humanizing the Prophet ﷺ because, you forget at the end of the day, he was also a man. He was a man who had friends and who invited people to his house and who, had fun conversations and told jokes. So again, I love this surah. It's amazing because it covers so many different topics, and they're all, historical events from the seerah, but also things that we ourselves can draw lessons from. And I believe that, it was a great choice for Ustad Mahad to take some ayahs from the surah to talk about, and I appreciate him doing it. صدق الله العظيم.